All right, guys. Hope you're doing well. Um, let's take a look at the charts, get ready for next week. Um, so start with the indexes. So first things first, and also if you guys have stocks you want me to take a look at, put them in the chat and I will cover them. But okay, so starting with the indexes, first thing that I'm seeing is if we just do the simple fib retracements here from the high to the low. One thing I'm seeing is that we're recovering the 21 EMA. So if I get rid of all the rest of these, you can see we closed above the 21 EMA, which is not too meaningful at this point. But uh yeah, it's not too meaningful at this point. We need two closes above, but it has been a key level that we have respected for quite some time. So you can see like when we broke here, we got a pretty decent flush after we rejected here. And then you can see when we got above it here, we had this strong move up. We bounced here. We've held it here. Even on this gap down, it gapped all the way down here and recovered it before closing below it. And then when we got the first close below, that was the first big warning sign. You can see even here we had a gap down below it and reclaimed it. But the when we closed below it, we that was the first warning sign, and then that's what triggered this flush, right? So this is a key level to pay attention to. So this week, it's not a spot to get overly aggressive in any other or one way or the other. It's more about okay, where is this going to bring us in the following weeks? Like, so this one here, when we broke here, this gave us a trigger for what was to come for the next few months, from basically beginning of March to for about a full month till April. And now we're having this retracement. Now this is the standard stuff that goes back to the mentorship, like 101, reversion to the mean. We get a push away from the mean, we revert back to it, push away, revert back to it, push away, back to the mean, push away, back, push away, back, push away, back. We broke below it, came back to it, broke down, came back to it. Simple stuff. So naturally, the very first thing we want to go towards, honestly, has to be the path of least resistance, which would be just continuation lower. That's what this chart would be telling us if we were looking at it plain and simple. Okay. But if we get two closes above, typically that is what triggers a move to the upside for a reversal. So here's a prime example and something that we've continued to discuss. So you can see here we had two closes below, ended up or above, ended up being a fake out, and we ended up flushing here. Then we came back and then we gap below or gap down after we came back to that 21. Then we came back to the 21 and we moved lower. We put in a higher low, which is something that's notable. But when we broke out above this, we had a close above, and then we had another close above, and then we continue to move higher. So that's the confirmation, right? But then the real confirmation is that retest, which I've been talking about for weeks. That's the thing that you want to see when you're looking for a reversal on the indexes is a break of that daily 21 and retests it and then fails. Here's an example. We broke below it, we retested it, failed, and then that triggered the sell-off and a new trend. Now we broke above it, we retested it. So this is a key area of support. So um, it's just a key line in the sand we have to pay attention to. And paying attention to it on those different time frames are really key. So the weekly and the daily are always the most notable. And then intraday, it's typically that 30-minute chart that you want to pay attention to. Okay. So keep an eye on those. All right. So first thing is don't get too aggressive because the direction is still at the moment unclear because we don't have a solid um, technically the path of least resistance is lower, but you can see the daily time frame is kind of shifting to look different and more bullish, right? You've got this squeeze showing up here and the momentum's rising to the upside. We got that retest, so we don't want to jump bearish yet, right? So this might be a reversal. We just have to wait. Something else is that personally, for my my opinion, we always go back and we talk about the put call. I talk to you guys about this pretty much every week, right? So here, we've talked about how major bottoms have came when this 10 SMA gets to those above zero point 0.9 has been the most common thing as of recently. Typically, it's usually when we get above zero point 0.1 or 1.0, but we've been recently getting it to zero point 0.9. Okay. Oh, and by the way, if you guys want this ATR and ADR, I put this together recently this week. So just DM me if you want that, and I can give you access. But so here you can see this is where we made our bottom when we had reading above zero point 0.9, and then above zero point 0.9 here we had our low. But now we have to start focusing on, okay, we're starting to have a rally. When might we see a top? Well, okay, when's the last few times we've seen a top? So if we go back here, we saw a top when we were below zero point 0.7, okay? And this is just the 10 SMA. That's what I'm looking at. This blue line here, I can't remember how to get rid of the bars in general. I would if I could, but I don't remember how. And I'm not going to try and figure it out right now. But anyways, so you see this blue line. Maybe if I make it white, it might make it more obvious. Yeah. Okay, so now if we saw this huge top put in right here and that really big sell-off happened at point under zero point 0.7, okay? Then now what we're seeing is then we had another time when we had our readings below zero point 0.7, that's when we had this little correction right here, and then the major correction happened when we were below zero point 0.7 here, and that sell off. So these major swings are typically coming from when we have readings that are above or below zero point 0.7 and above zero point 0.9. Okay. So in my opinion, I'm gonna be not as not like 5 minute time frame focus, but shorter time frame, like playing a lot of those 30-minute signals and things like that, and shorter term daily chart trades. Because I'm not necessarily going to flip back bearish until we get that move back below zero point 0.7, because that's been a really consistent signal. And with the daily looking the way that it is on SPY, I have to lean towards the continuation of this trend, right? We've got a lower high, lower low, lower high, and then we couldn't make a lower low. We made a higher low, and then we came above and we made another higher low. So naturally, what I'm expecting maybe this week is we get a pullback. We have FOMC coming up, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a pullback here, maybe even to the 21 EMA. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that. Um, I just think that's probably what's up next. And then that will be very key. Are we going to build another higher low, or what are we going to do? But I think that once this put call starts to work its way down towards zero point 0.7, I think we're going to be able to call for more bearish setups. Okay. um, and then, so similar story for the Qs. I'm not really going to go into this one. I think it's very, very similar. Right now, we're pulling back just a little bit, nothing too crazy. So pay attention to your 21 EMAs this week. It's going to be very key. The daily, it's been respected extremely well. Here, you can see we had our major breakdown here. Once we broke below it, you can see it rejected here, rejected here, rejected here, rejected here. So, and then we bounced here. So now, as long as we hold above that, we have to lean on the bullish side of things. Okay. Then in the short term, weekly, we're still technically bearish because we're trading below the 21. Okay. So shorter term bullish, longer term perspective bearish, but we can't be. So you might think that's confusing, but if I put it this way, you can't look to go short something if the lower time frame doesn't look good as well, right? So like you have to have the easiest way to put it, you have to have a bearish daily chart in order to get a move lower on the weekly chart. Like the daily chart has to start moving lower before the weekly chart. I know they move at the same time, but I hope that makes sense if I'm explaining that correctly. Like this chart needs to start breaking down before it can start uh triggering the weekly. Okay. We've got the momentum shifting to the upside. Um, we've got momentum moving higher here. So the first sign would be maybe some momentum pulling to the downside. Okay, so that's SPY short term. We've got to continue to look bullish. This is the same thing I said last week. I said we need to see a retest of the 21 EMA after we had broke above. And then also the key point that the momentum has continued to push to the upside. Now, I think it will get more interesting once this squeeze either momentum shifts, we get a sell signal, or momentum goes to the upside, fires off, and then we lose momentum. Then we'll get a better, more clear idea. Okay, so VIX, um, nothing really too notable here. You can see similar story, right? We've got momentum going to the downside. We've got a squeeze. Now we'll wait for the momentum shift, and that's when things start to really trigger off. So you can see here, once momentum shifted, that's when we started to get this trigger to the upside. You can see here, momentum shifted here, and then that's when we got this move downside. So paying attention just simply to the momentum of the squeeze can tell you a lot of um, where we might be headed next. Okay. And everything else is a similar story. So now let's talk about some stocks that are on the top of my radar. So um, Bitcoin, been talking about this one a lot. Weekly time frame looks awesome. I think it has a really good looking setup. I think this is the last time we had buy signals right here, and that triggered the move from 67,000 to 109,000. So now we are getting weekly time frame buys, and I think it looks pretty solid here for a upside move. Okay. So that's a longer term play. Carvana, we can't really trade this one. We did buy this one last week and was able to catch 12-point move or 12% move on that. This one has earnings, so we're gonna wait on this one to be able to trade it again. Dash, I didn't call this one out to the chat, but we had talked about it pretty extensively last week. This one had a really great move last week, about 9%. Um, Spotify, I do still like this one. We got in on this one on this day right here at 600. So we entered right here on this day and was able to take some profits there. Look for this one to have continuation to 700. Um, if we take the swing high to swing low, this one has earnings out of the way, which is nice because a lot of stocks do not. But this did end up making a new all-time high on Friday. So really great move on that one. I think we can eventually get to 700 here. And the 1272 actually lines up perfect with 700. We go to X or T. So this one, I'll be completely honest, is an extremely boring stock. But if it makes a move, it can pay in the options premiums. So you can see here we had daily buy signals here, and we're kind of taking off. I think there's a few things I like about this. You can see we put in this low, then we put in a higher low, and notice it was done on high volume. And then notice we had this next volume candle that was red, but then notice after that we had an even higher buyer candle volume here. Okay. You can see the similar story here. Like you got a high buyer candles with buy signals. Um, we've got a few high volume buy candles here. And then we've got another one right here. So what I'm looking for, as you can see, we built higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. So we just continuing to build higher lows, and prices getting pretty tight now. So I'm expecting either tomorrow or Tuesday for us to get a breakout on this one. I know it's a really boring stock, but I wanted some exposure just in case the indexes got a little weird, that this will still perform well. This one, it's kind of like those safety stocks. This one performed really well. Just had earnings. Looks like they beat, nothing crazy, but This one, T-Mobile's obviously a better one, but this one doesn't look as great. And then VZ looks okay as well, but I don't want to trade that one either. So I'm looking to see if T can break out to the upside. It's holding at 618. So typically when a stock holds its 618 retracement, which is this level right here, you usually will see this break out to the upside. And I think this one has a good opportunity to do so. And something also you want to look for too is when you get this wild price action, it's like, okay, where did sellers step in more or did buyers step in more? And this indicator makes it really easy because you can just look here and you can see, okay, well, we had all these above average candles. Okay, well, this was a pretty big sell-off. Oh, well, okay, if I look here, the buyers stepped in a lot more heavily than they did here. And then a few candles later, you can see then the sellers stepped in again and they didn't step in as much. But then you can see again, the buyers really stepped in. Sellers pushed it down and buyers bought it right back up, and we had an even higher buyer candle there. So they're really defending this low here. Okay, then we get through here, we have some low volume, nothing crazy, and then we get more. Well, we get a seller candle, right? But then it's outpaced with higher buying volume on the next day. Okay, and we're continuing to build higher lows. So I'm looking for, okay, can we fill this gap? Can we make a new high? Can we touch $30? So on and so forth. So that's that. Um, hopefully that's a helpful explanation. Uh, some other ones that we'll definitely want to take a look at is there's a few in the financial space that I'll just give to you real quick. So this one here, DFS. So this one had earnings. I like that it gapped up. I thought it was going to trade sideways more, but it didn't end up doing so. And this one looks good on the weekly time frame. We're just now starting the weekly squeeze. And I want to see where our momentum shifting to the upside. And I think this will probably be a good candidate after it's had earnings. The earnings went well. They beat, and more importantly, price action is confirming that we had a gap up on some volume. And I want to see maybe we can rebuild the daily squeeze. Maybe we can get a pullback, and I can enter off this weekly chart and trade this to the upside. Last time we had weekly signals was right here, and that gave us a really nice move of 35%. So I'd still probably trade options in this one, but I think this one still has more to go because we had this long-term this long-term consolidation. We broke out of it. Now we're starting to trend higher. We've got green trend bars. Chart looks good. Another one is Coop. So this one has just held a beautiful trend all of this time. If I look at the daily time frame, has a good looking daily squeeze. We've got a buy signal. I'd like this one to shape up a little bit more, but I think this one is in a great spot to potentially take it long. So ASTS. So this one here, weekly chart. This one, weekly buy signal, had some good volume. I think maybe can we get a run into earnings? And so you can see here we had a run into earnings off of this weekly buy signal, but it didn't have too much follow through after the earnings report. Then the last earnings here, that gave us this run and we ran into this earnings. This one here, we didn't really run into. Um, so this one's definitely more speculative, but I think there's some potential here. Uh, it's not one of my favorite patterns. Like I'm not as confident as I was in this one as I was in like Carvana, but it might be worth putting a half position on and just seeing, okay, can we get a push up into earnings, especially now because it had this sideways consolidation and then we broke out on high volume here. Okay. And then last one, I would say probably my favorite setup right now is Hims. This has earnings tomorrow, so I'm gonna wait and hopefully we get a gap down on earnings, maybe into the 21 EMA here. But I really, really, really like this chart. Huge volume coming in, the highest amount since uh, the inception of this chart, basically. And I just think this is a great looking chart. And this one has excellent fundamentals and is a high ADR name. And You can see it just broke the trend. It just fired a daily squeeze. I want to wait and see what we can do here. This is probably my favorite one going into next week. I think this is a really great, this can be a really great opportunity to catch this one for a move back in all-time highs. I really think so. Um, so just got to be patient on that. And yeah, so weekly chart, I think we've got a weekly squeeze just starting to show up. So I really like that one. Um, and then APP, similar story. I really like this chart as well. I'm looking for, can we get a momentum shift? This is going to take a little longer. We've got earnings coming up. This one's a less immediate one, but I think that this one is a really good looking chart as well. And I think that we can play this one long to the upside. Just kind of waiting for the momentum shift and this chart to just shape up a little bit more and trade above the 21 EMA a little longer. And then last one, Costco. I've been telling you guys about this one. Break above 1,000. This should make a pretty good move. It did break above 1,000. Now I'm waiting to see, okay, can we get a pullback, retest that, get a better entry, and then run into earnings. This one is really good about running into earnings. So you can see here that here was well, we'll go back to the last one. So here's earnings. We had to run before earnings. Same thing here. We had to run before earnings. This one here, we ran into earnings. Uh, this one here, we ran into earnings. This one here, we ran into earnings. We ran into earnings here. So we didn't do it here, but you get my point, right? We run into earnings really often on this one. So yeah. So that's all the charts I have for you. I know I just kind of threw a lot at you, but if I had to give you like my top ones that I'm liking here, Bitcoin, HIMS, APP, uh, and T are probably my favorite ones going into this week. I think those are probably the best opportunities that I'm seeing right now in terms of swing trades. And then other than that, we'll be watching the indexes, see if anything else pops up. Like during the week, I didn't have, or last Sunday, I had Dash, I had Carvana on my watch list and ready to go, but I did not have Spot. And so we kind of took that midday and I alerted that to you guys when it was setting up on that day. Markets had gapped down. This one was up 3%. Didn't really care, showing some high volume. And yeah, so that's why we took that one. Typically, sometimes it will show up during the middle of the week, but right now, what we've got is HIMS, ASTS, APP, um, Bitcoin. Those are the ones that are really showing up and looking really good here. So, uh, yeah. So, um, let's see. If you guys have chart requests, send them in the chat and I can take a look at them and tell you what I think. ANF, I'm not sure if you're long this stock or what, but at this current moment in time, I couldn't look at doing anything else besides shorting it, and I don't think I would do that either. But if you're looking to go long, I think the most obvious thing is, as you can see here, it's rejecting. It rejected off the 21 EMA here. It rejected off the 21 EMA here, tried to gap above it, failed, and then sold off from there. So what I would look for is when this gets two closes above the 21 EMA, then you could start to try and play the reversals to the upside. I think that's probably your best bet and going to give you the most upside potential and probably yeah. But I think there's a lot of other things that look better than this. This was the time when you wanted to trade it long. It had a really nice setup here, all the way through here in this run up. So this is the times you kind of want to trade that. Right now, it's just kind of dead in the water. I don't love to short stocks. It's not my, it's not something I like to do, but this isn't something I'd want to go long on either personally. I'd rather trade something that's near 52-week highs or all-time highs. Um, so do you guys have do you have other tickers you want me to take a look at that I can cover? Or that's it. SoFi, this one had a good run. the end of last year. Um, so this one looks like it's trying to break out of stage one into stage two. So this is your stage one where you're trading sideways, and then this one broke out and is now trying to start trending. Um, I like this one. I think that you've got a pretty clear pattern here of inverse head and shoulders trying to form. Now, do I just trade inverse head and shoulders on their own? No, I don't. But what I do look for is if we can build a good looking pattern here to where we can trade it. So, for example, so usually what I found works the best is you have this inverse head and shoulders here. This needs to build out its shoulder a little bit more. And then it needs to build a squeeze. And then print, or then you can start to look for when that momentum shifts, use the buy signals, whatever you use. That's what triggers the reversal here. But then you're going to run up to supply. So what you're going to have to do is like you wait for this to build out a little longer, maybe a week or two, then go ahead and you can, once it starts to turn up, initiate your position, look for the initial breakout, probably to 15 or so, maybe a little lower, and then start to take profit, move your stop to break even because you're running into a lot of supply right here. And it's going to probably have some trouble trading through that. But if you sell some of your position, finance it so you're not risking anything on the rest of the trade and you take some profits and then just move your stop to break even, you should be okay in trading this one to the long side and see if it can give you a continuation. The weekly is also forming a squeeze, so that might give you the trigger to get you back to this previous high and potentially $20. So I think it just needs a little bit more time. It looks pretty similar to how I traded, uh, where was it? Spot. So you can see here, this is kind of what I'm talking about. So if I clear this off, so you can see here, you've got inverse head and shoulders here. You could call that a double bottom if you wanted to, but you can kind of see the pattern showing up here. Here's the shoulder, head, shoulder. We had buy signals, we had a squeeze, and we had momentum shifting up. So that was kind of the trigger to buy this one and get in towards here. So SoFi, I'll probably add that to my watch list, but it's just not ready yet. And I think that it will be. You just got to be patient. It continues to set up, and as long as it holds that 21 EMA, you're in good shape. And look for it to break to the upside, and then just trail it. So, yeah, pretty good looking setup. Do we have any other stocks? Hood, AMD. Hood. I do have Hood on my watch list. I like this one. It's same, literally same thing, same exact thing. So, what you're looking for is you've got an inverse head and shoulders showing up here, but this shoulder is holding up really well. And well, I gotta leave that there. So above 50. So this shoulder is holding up really well. So that means it's got some strength in it. It's got through earnings. Now wait for it to build a squeeze, consolidate a little bit more, and then if it then when it breaks above 50, it really should give you a strong move up. I I do have this one on my watch list, and I love this here where these recovery stories, where it's this huge move down, but then it comes back, flat lines, and then just rockets up. So that's always a great sign. These are great stocks to trade. Spotify is an example where it had this big decline and then it rockets back up. Well, that's a recovery story. Yeah, Carvana. Yep, we traded that one, and that's actually, if you go watch the recording, this was exactly what I talked about last week. It had this big decline, and then from the lows, it recovered up like 2000 something percent, if I remember correctly. So Yeah, almost 8,000% or 8,500%. So that's a recovery story. It hasn't fully recovered, but it has gotten back to, or it's recovered a huge margin of what it was, 8,000% return so far. So yeah. And Dash was the one that I talked about last week as well, the same idea of a recovery story here and there. So Hood, looking at this one, I think this one's a great looking setup, but I don't think your setup is going to be here on the daily. I think it's going to be on the weekly chart. You've got a weekly squeeze. This one looks good. Look at the last time it had a weekly squeeze with a buy signal. I had a buy signal at $22 and it went up to 66. So this one here, I'm waiting for a buy signal. I'm waiting for a daily buy signal. I don't know. I'm just waiting on one of those two things, and I'm going to take this one long. And yeah, I've had this one on my watch list, and I really like this one as well. It's just not ready yet. Similar with SoFi, and I would definitely rank this one above SoFi by a lot. Um, AMD. So this one, I don't. This one has earnings. I don't have any reason to trade this or want to trade this. If you want to trade a semi, trade something with strength, this is when you wanted to trade it back through here. Okay. Here, you don't want to trade this. This looks like it looks bad. Like there's nothing really to do here. It might bounce and get back up to 110, but then it's going to meet resistance there. Right now, I don't see there's anything to do with it. It looks pretty similar to market, but is actually performing worse than the market. So you can see it has that similar higher low pattern after it put in that low, and then it broke above, it gapped down below it, and hasn't had a really good push off the 21. And you've got all these people that bought it at 130, that bought it at 150, that bought it at 110, that bought it at 100, that are going to be sellers at this because they're trying to catch some of this. It's just, it's not, or really get out back at break even so they don't lose money. It's just in a really strong downtrend. If you're looking to play this long, I would I would not want to. Similar to ANF, I would just stay away from it for now, and focus on better performing semis. Schwab. So Schwab, this one looks good. It got through earnings. Let's see. So let's see here. Yeah, so for this one, I like it. I think that it's a good setup. I think I would just lean towards something else that's in the financial sector, just because it's a little like there's other things that are closer up to the highs. And even though it looks like it's going to break out, it's still trading within this choppy mess of this sell-off it had here. So that's the part that I don't love. Um, and I would rather trade other financials like MA, where it's trading up near highs already, and trading in this strong uptrend, or Coop, which is this is also within the financial industry. This one is trading up near highs and just barely ever breaking its 21. Um, there was one other one that I was thinking that had a good setup. Oh, DFS that I just talked about. Yeah. So this one is trading near all-time highs. I just kind of prefer stocks that don't have a lot of overhead resistance. And Schwab kind of presents that a little bit just because it's got all this to get through. before it can break out. So what I would look for is if it can get closer within, so the 786 level, when it's above here, look for like a daily A plus signal and then trade it to the upside. I think that's probably what will make the most sense. Up here, it's too extended. Um, and yeah, that's just what I think. But I do think financials look pretty good here. So if you look here, we broke the 21. We've reclaimed the 21. Obviously, this is stronger than SPY. If you just look at if you're measuring relative strength and you just simply look at okay, look at the 21 weekly, where's SPY or XLF at, where's SPY, you can kind of see XLF is clearly looking better, right? So yeah. So does that mean DIA is looking better? No, not necessarily. But um, XLF is showing some strength, and some of the top ones in that is MA. DFS looks good. So just Schwab, I prefer something that's in a really clear trend like this here, rather than being stuck in all that kind of mess. But if you're looking for a really longer term thing, this could end up breaking out and having a really nice move. Personally, I think the setup is fine. It's just I think there are better things to trade. Um, all right, guys. Do you have any other questions for me? Any other stocks you want me to take a look at? Anything else you want me to cover? Do you believe usually financials lead in a bullish market? No, no, I don't think so. Technology growth stocks typically lead within uh, a bull market. So what you're going to see is the new innovation growth stocks like IBD stocks, those are the ones that typically lead the markets that have big returns like Nvidia, that SMCI, those are all tech stocks. Though tech is always almost always going to be the leaders of a bull market. And something that that I use is if you look at stocks with high ADR, so they're moving over 5% every week. If you look at the stocks that are setting up that are that way, or that have that kind of volatility, and if there's no bullish ones within, like there's a scan I gave out a while ago, it was stocks that have a good amount of average volume and then also 5% ADR. When it is trading above uh that 5% ADR, that list, typically if there's no bullish setups, then usually that means the market is pretty bad. If there's and then as the amount of bullish setups come in within those stocks, and you can just do that right in here if you use Thinkorswim. Here, high ADR names, average volumes above average 30 days, 1 million. Um, ADR 5%, price above 10. I just prefer the higher priced ones, not like stuff under $10. But when you look at that, you'll see like, okay, MSTR was the first one to set up. And that's why I was pointing that out to you guys back in here. And I was saying this is probably going to be a leader. And now since then, we're trading up um 35%. So this here, the only reason I thought this was a leader was because it was one of those high ADR names, and in a struggling market like we had the past few months, none of these were showing bullish setups. Dollar Tree was one of the only ones, and this one actually ended up we got faked out of this one, but we got faked out here right there, but it ended up having a really nice move. So this one was one of the leading stocks that broke out. Same with MSTR. That was the next one that popped up. And then what popped out up after that? Carvana. And then what one popped up with that? Dash. GEV popped up. So if you look at those stocks that make really volatile moves, when those are setting up bullishly, spot that's when you know the market is starting to shape up better. And without having to look at the indexes, that can give you a really significant clue. So no, I don't think the financials lead the markets. It's almost always going to be tech and growth names, IBD. Um, so and me explaining all that, that's an easy way to find that is those high ADR names. Um, yeah, you'll see a rotation. And then when the market starts to get a little rough, then what you'll see is you'll see XLP starting to lead. You'll see these stocks like T-Mobile, things like that starting to lead. But a lot of XLP utilities, those are the ones that are going to start performing well in a bear market. But yeah. And then also if you look at a simple scan of names that are uh, trading near all-time highs. So I look for stocks that are trading within 52-week highs or all-time highs that are within 10% of that. And that list will vary significantly. And so you look at stocks that are trading within 10% of highs. If there's a ton of them and a ton of bullish setups, then you know the market's doing pretty well. If it's if there's only five, six names on there, you know that the market is performing pretty poorly. Like for example, during this whole downturn in SPY, this whole thing right here, the only things that were showing up were BJ's. And we traded this one. What other ones were showing up? Kroger or KO. They're all the consumer staples names. So like if you're only along, like you like to trade only calls or to the long side, that's where you go during those times when the market is performing poorly. So those are two ways that I kind of navigate that. And then the first ones that start to break out, those are typically the ones that are leaders in the next bull run. So yeah, it's usually like the simplest way to put it is the ones that break out first are typically the ones that are going to lead the next bull market run. And they're almost always going to be like statistics show it's consumer discretionary stocks, technology stocks, or biotech stocks. Those are typically the ones that end up leading in bull markets. So yeah, I kind of went on a long-winded answer there, but hopefully that helps. Um, yeah. So do you guys have any other questions for me, or that's all I've got for now? And yeah, yeah, no problem. Happy to help. But all right, guys, I appreciate you guys jumping on. I'll have this posted, the recording. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch with you guys in the markets tomorrow.